Very well, and at this particular moment, we head into our discussion right here on SMB, where we engage experts on different topics and also addressing different challenges that you are facing or could probably arise in our communities. And now let's take a recap of the discussion around community development, because surely it's a continuous process happening everywhere across the country and globally. Take a look and we hope you learn with us. And you are watching Smart 24 TV. Thank you for having just joined us, in case you have. And this is SMB. My name is Rita Cabanyoro, and now we're going to be discussing together about the practice. Some of us call it as a discipline or practice that actually promotes a perspective, democracy, sustainable development, promoting rights, economic opportunity, equality, and social justice through organizations or education, and also empowering people within our communities, but also where identity and locality is best always in regards to interest, but both in urban and rural areas, and that is for community development. We're going to look at how we can enhance community development regardless of the area, whether rural or urbanization. And discussing this with me today is Dr. Sarah Birungi, who is the Manager Population and Social Sector at NPA, that is the National Planning Authority. Thank you so much for joining us, for honoring our event. Good morning. How are you feeling?
Good morning, Rita, and good morning, our viewers.
And now we want us to know about the practice of or discipline rotating around community development. How do you find it, or how do you even define it in your area?
Yeah, thank you, Rita. Probably the viewers would probably start by understanding what community is. I think that is really important for us. So basically, a community is a group of people that are living together or have, common characteristics.
Okay.
So it probably could be people living in one geographical location. I come from a rural district called Butaleja. Okay. So we'd call probably Butaleja community as, a community because they live in one geographical location, but they also have similar, kind of characteristics. Okay. But we also have communities whereby people may not necessarily live in one geographical location, but they have common characteristics. If we say, for example, a community of the academia, a community of the media, a community of the
those are also communities.
Those are also communities, Okay. A community of the Muslim community, the Catholic community, Ugandans living abroad. They are not living here, but the Ugandan community.
Because they have something in common.
They have something in common. They're all Ugandans and they have similar, kind of characteristics. The Karamoja community, they live in Karamoja, but they have similar kind of characteristics. So that's how we kind of define a community. So in terms of community development, this is basically a process. Community development is a process. It's not something that happens one day or happens at a specific point in time, but it's really a process. It's a development process. So it's a process which basically involves the communities themselves. The communities have to identify a common cause, or they have to identify a problem that they would like to solve, Now that we are living in times of COVID, a community could identify a problem, say, we are lacking food, like we have been seeing what has been happening in the urban area. Governments coming in to step in and provide some bit of subsidy, some food for people to be able to, feed. But they could come together as an urban community and say, we want to do something, we want to come together for a common problem, for a common cause, and be able to produce probably urban food. People are now farming in the urban areas. Instead of sitting back and say we are waiting for government, we can basically do some urban farming as an urban community. So it's about a common cause. You must have something common that is bringing you up together to organize yourselves and come up with some bit of action, some bit of action around a common cause or a common problem.
Okay, and what do you think are the gates of community development? You highlighting that people coming together at least to solve up a problem. What are some of the gates of community development?
Yeah, community development starts with the common. You must have something in common.
Okay.
If there is nothing in common, then you cannot come together. So one of the key gates is, common cause, common problem, What is that is identifies all of you that are coming together? Is it a farming issue? Is it an education problem? Is it a teenage, pregnancy problem? Is it a development problem? Is it social justice? Something that is really bringing you together. And then number two, you must own it.
Okay.
Community development is about ownership of your own problem, but ownership of your own solutions.
Okay.
We're not going to come from Kampala and go to Butaleja and define solutions for the people in Butaleja, but we just have to help them define their own solutions.
Isn't that what has been actually happening mostly? People coming out from different areas or authorities, and then they're going to define solutions for the communities.
Exactly. That is what has been happening, and I think that's where the gap is.
Okay.
That's where government has been, not doing quite well.
Okay.
Coming up with a project from an office in Kampala and taking it for the people of Karamoja, taking it for the people of, Mbarara. That is not their need. Okay. They have different needs, and they can tell you their needs, and you specifically address those needs if you need to support them. Okay. So that has been a problem. I remember one time government kind of built toilets, pit latrines in Karamoja, and the women didn't use them, especially the pregnant women, because there's a cultural belief that when you got that toilet when you're pregnant, probably the baby will fall in there. Or probably if you haven't yet conceived, probably you may never conceive. So we need
the toilet takes your gift of conceiving.
Exactly. So we have to understand those cultural dynamics, contextual dynamics of different communities. Okay. We don't have to define solutions for communities, but to help them define their own solutions to address their own problems. Okay,
and you're still addressing us on gets of...
Yeah. So that is one of them. And then the other one is, kind of independence. Okay. Quite often we want to really take over the community and rule them out, But it's always very important to have the community have independence, within, their issues. Let them be independent. Support them, but let them be independent. Don't take over, everything. So that is very, very important. Because when you take over, then they leave the project for you.
Who usually takes over? Are these the local authorities like LOC ones? Who usually takes over? If you could tell us why you
there are many players in the development process. We have the government, we have the civil society organizations that are down there supporting communities. We have the private sector, we have the development partners, that are also supporting communities. So basically when you take a project there, and you want to own it.
You bring the team of experts, you don't consider the communities and then employ them there to do what the community wants. Okay. And this is what is happening in communities.
Yeah. This is what is happening, and I think that is what we need to do. We need to really change that and do things a little bit differently. And then the other gate is community empowerment. If you go in a community and you leave the community not empowered, you have not really done much. If you bring a team of experts, like you said, and they do everything and they move out, the community will not have learned anything.
You mean passing on skills?
You will not have passed on skills. You will not have used their community skills. They do have community skills. Okay. They know best of what they need and how they can do it in that community. So if you come from wherever you're coming from, or Kampala, or outside the country, and you do everything for them, and then pull out, you will not have created empowerment. Actually, the project will end there with you.
Okay.
So it's always very important to ensure that you involve the community as much as possible. Actually, almost 90% of the resources should be community owned. Let the community get involved. Let the community effectively participate. Let the skills be transferred, if there are any skills to be transferred to the community. And then there we can talk about sustainable development.
Okay.
When you leave, the community will continue, running that project. I can give you an example of the water projects that we've been implementing. I think government has been doing well on that front. When there are water sources, kind of boreholes or wells or something like that, we always set up what they call water management committees. So the community is trained on how to manage, say, a borehole, how to maintain it, how to report in case there are any technical issues. So they own up, that project. It's their project. The government has brought the resources.
They even feel I have got a right on this.
Exactly. They even collect some bit of money for maintenance. They have a committee that is maintaining, and everybody is concerned about how the borehole is being run. If somebody is messing up anything, then the community is answerable. The community is there to caution them. So that's the kind of empowerment, empowerment that we're talking about.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are there any other gets, or we move on?
I think we can move on.
And how can we create awareness for these challenges that are happening? You mentioning, and what I've also observed in communities. Even people tend to lie behind and say, it's what they have brought, let them do it. We're there to feed it after all, to feed on it after all. How can communities have awareness on this?
The best way to create awareness in the community is role modeling. Communities really understand solving a challenge very easily by seeing their own solving it. If Rita is living in the same community with me, and Rita has a model home, very nice farming, practices, very clean home, things like that. Children are going to school and they are smart and things like that. It's very easy for me to learn from Rita, address my challenges by learning from Rita, because I identify myself with Rita. We are living in the same community. We have similar characteristics.
But Rita is organized.
So I'm like, if Rita can do it, then why can't I do it?
Okay.
But if somebody else is coming from somewhere else and is talking to them about experiences in Kampala, experiences in London, experiences in China, wherever, they don't identify with that. They think it's far away, far-fetched. But if somebody is a role model in that community, it's very easy for the community members to learn.
So are you saying that implementers or whoever they are, authorities or government, should identify some people in communities and first implement what they want through them so that people can relate with that?
Exactly. It's always very important to get an entry point into the community.
Okay.
And if there are community leaders, councillors, elders, role models, but even other, local people who have, who have taken some bit of steps in terms of transforming their homes or their households, it's very easy for the community to learn from those people. So if you're bringing some bit of support, you need some entry points. You need some people that can motivate, the rest of the community to learn from, but also get involved in those projects. And I think government has been doing some bit of that. When you look at programs like NADS, for example, they're always kind of demonstrations, getting a home and you have a demonstration from that home, or a community, farm, and you have a demonstration so that people can learn and actually think it can also work for their own farm. So that is one of the key ways
to create
awareness in a community. And then we also have what we call champions.
Champions.
That we call champions. It's always very
important. Who have
won
awards?
No, not really. Somebody who is there to really champion the cause. Okay. It may not be that they are the model home or something like that, but they are really there to champion and provide leadership for that project to happen. And the community listens to those people. The community believes in them, and they can actually talk to the community, and you can really start seeing change happening. But if you come from Kampala or wherever you're coming from, and you talk very well, you create awareness, you train them, you sensitize them, you give them some allowance or some food, it may end there, you know. But you need to create champions in that community who can champion the cause, you know, who can champion the cause for that particular project that you want the community to take up, or the particular project that the community itself is championing. So it's always very important to get a champion.
Okay, and speaking of sensitization, what has been the most challenging part of sensitization in creating community development? Because you're saying, because most of it has been, you know, coming with training, speaking to people, giving them some allowances. I think, isn't that the kind of sensitization you're having in your communities? You can surely comment on what you think or what has been ongoing. What changes can we implement in our community sensitizations?
Like I said, communities always have their own problems, but we always take to them other problems, you know.
Not solutions.
We dictate problems, we dictate solutions, we dictate projects, you know, and the projects end up failing. You take you know, for example, a market. Let me use that example of a market.
It's fine.
Government has really invested in markets, but retailers, you may also observe, we have very many new markets, but sometimes the markets remain, they are very beautifully constructed, but the women are still, you know, selling their products by the roadside. So you ask yourself why. There's a very beautiful market, well constructed, with everything, the shades and everything, but the women, the women traders still, you know, line themselves up on the road.
If you ask me, I mean, it's because what I've seen, most people are on the road. The customers, I see most people on the road. So I'm thinking, if I set my like a stall here or my product lining here, someone who is passing by will buy. Is it that?
Exactly. But we haven't talked to them.
Okay.
So you're trying to probably tell me what the women would be saying if we had consulted them, you know. But probably what we do, we map up a place and say this is good for market, and we can shift these women from this place to this more organized market. But that is not their problem, probably.
Okay.
That's not their problem, probably. So we end up, you know, losing infrastructure. A lot of investment has gone in there, but the facility is not being utilized, you know. So those are some of the challenges. We are not really involving the community in designing, you know, right from the designing stage to the implementation stage and so on. You know, we design the projects from office, you know, we analyze the problems from our desks. You know, I'm a planner, but I'm just speaking some of the things, some of the mistakes we do. It's very expensive to do bottom-up planning. We try, but it's very, very expensive to go to the community and ask them everything. You ask all the communities, what do you think we can do for you? What are your problems? It's a difficult thing to do.
You're bringing out the expensivity part, the cost part. Don't you think that those are some of the reasons government would highlight on that, you know, going to the community, doing background check or involving the initial communities or people is expensive?
Yeah, we do underscore that, and we understand that, and that is something that is known.
Okay.
But I think for some projects that actually we are really putting in investment, it's very important to take that step and at least put in that investment. You know, such that the project is not put to waste. Because you put in a lot of money, but the project is put to waste. But if you put in some bit of extra money and go and consult the communities, probably we could design the project different. A project that is more acceptable to them and something that they can use. So we always have those mistakes, sometimes because of lack of adequate resources, but sometimes because we seem to not have time to go and talk to the community and involve them. And sometimes we think we know it all. We can plan for them.
You're the experts.
We know it all. I come from Butaleja, and I know the problems in Butaleja.
Yes.
I can design this project and it can work for them. And to our surprise, it doesn't work for them.
Okay.
So it's always very, very important, to take that step and do some bit of consultation.
Okay.
Talk to them, talk to the leaders, and come up with something that really works
Okay.
for everybody.
Okay. And I take you back to the awareness.
Yeah. And sometimes also the way we package our awareness campaigns, Packaging is also, a challenge and something that probably we haven't done very well. You find a lot of messages, a lot of information, there's too much for the community to take on, it's just too much. And then the community wonders what to take, they're still trying to, conceptualize the entire thing. And they end up not taking in anything.
Maybe we have a 2030 vision, so I'm on time, do this.
I know. So we always want to go to the community and say we have gotten a chance. I'm now here in Butaleja. I want to make sure I tell the people of Butaleja everything. I want to tell them about the Vision 2040. I want to tell them about the NDP3. I want to tell them about the Sustainable Development Goals, about COVID, about everything. And the community can't take, that's too much. So it's always very important to package. What is the specific issue that you want to talk to the community about, and what is the goal? What is the goal of your communication? What do you want to achieve by your communication? It should be very, very specific. And very targeted audience, very targeted message, and very targeted actions and very targeted resources, So the community takes in little at a time, but we have this, what we call community kind of exhaustion. Everybody is going to the community to talk about similar things, We have had that challenge in the government framework, but also the other partners. In the morning, somebody goes to talk to the community about health, mobilize, mothers for immunization. In the afternoon, somebody goes to talk to them about agriculture, extension and all that. Tomorrow morning, another team is coming to talk to them about water and sanitation, same community, same target. The other day, another one is coming to talk to them about markets. So so the campaign has got a lot
it's
just too much, and the community gets tired. And they get confused, and it's because we think every problem concerns them. We think water is their problem, we think agriculture is their problem, we think education is their problem, we think COVID is their problem. We haven't talked to them and discussed with them what the actual problem is. Probably they have solved the water problems. They have solved the education problems. Each parish now has a primary school. That is not their problem. Their children in that particular parish or sub-county are actually going to school. That is not their problem. Although it's a national problem, it's not their problem in that community.
So and it's not their problem to walk long distances actually to go to school. But we tend to define it that they are walking long distance to achieve education.
Exactly. Let me give you an example of where some water projects have failed. And I used to be a community development officer before I joined the National Planning Authority. And we really advocated for, shortening distances. Women move long distances. We always have that literature and that, narrative. Women walk long distances to fetch water. Children walk long distances to fetch water, especially the girls. And along the way, they can be raped. They have those challenges. So we went on to say, okay, let's shorten the distances, probably from 2-3 kilometers to 1 or half a kilometer, and let every location have at least a borehole. And the boreholes were constructed across the country. And you know what the women were doing? The women were passing those boreholes and continuing to the longer to collect their water.
To where you fetched them before.
Exactly. So we didn't understand their problem. Women want to interact. That's the only time they get. Women are so busy at home. Rita, you're a woman, you know what we go through. You have to make sure everything is organized, the food is organized, the cleaning is done.
Yes, and then when they get chance,
to go and collect water, somebody's putting the borehole just at your next door. So what are you going? So women were walking and going very far away, you know, so they can have a conversation, they can talk to each other, they can share some experiences, but also take some time off from home, you know. So those are some of the issues we are facing, you know. And then let me give you another example. There's a time when also government invested heavily in production technologies, you know, tractors. Okay, let's at least sub-county have a tractor, you know, let districts have tractors.
So is farming,
yes. You can open up large farmlands and so on. And
at least
the women were
that.
not consulted. The men were consulted and said, yeah, we need this technology, we need the machines, we can open up the land. Nobody took time to analyze who does what on that farm, you know. The men are opening up the farm and they were given the machines to open up the farm. Who does the weeding?
The women.
It's the women and the children. And there were no technologies for weeding. So the men opened up the farms, they planted, and there was nobody to weed. You know, there was nobody to weed. And that's how we get those losses.
And we go to waste. Surely, exactly. Let me cut you around there. We take a break, then we do return and, you know, add on to that one. We take a short break, but we're still discussing on how we can enhance community development. This is SMB.